in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Porch Light Letters podcast number 2193. Finding focus or not. Lessons from Goofy and Gallup. So you're probably going to go, lessons from Goofy and Gallup? Huh? Yeah, that's our topic for tonight. So I have to tell you this about my shirt that I am wearing. As you can see, it is a, football jersey with Goofy here. And then on the back, it has Goofy with number 32. There is a story that goes with the shirt. First of all, Brad and I went to Disneyland one time and I got this shirt and I also got a Donald Duck one with, I think he's got a hockey stick on that one. I don't know. I just remember Goofy with the football, the number 32. It plays a very important role. So this is a wild story, I tell you. So we went to Disneyland. I got this shirt. I got a hockey one with Donald Duck on it, and I think it's red, white, and blue or something. I don't remember. But I went into my closet this morning and thought I'm going to put that on, and I just started laughing because the story behind the shirt is I bought the shirt. Then fast forward a couple of years, I think it was, when I was working with Marriott in their training department, and there was one of those new assessment tests, personality test type things that had come out, and it was called Strengthsfinders by Gallup. And so I went and I did the test, and you end up with 34 strengths with your top 5. My top 5 were belief, positivity, woo, which is win others over, intellection, and arranger. Those were my top 5. Number 32 was focus. Out of 34, number 32 was focus. And when I saw that, I started laughing, and my team members are looking at me like, what the heck is going on with you? So I had to explain to them, at home, I had a football jersey that had number 32 written on it, as well as Goofy. And they were also like, and what's it going to do? I said, my number 32 strength is focus. Yes, Goofy and I have a lot in common when it comes to focus. So that's the story behind that. That's the story behind the shirt. We had the shirt before it became part of a story, but it was really cool. So hang on, now I've got to get back on track again. See, lack of focus. I tell you, it's a lot of the time. So tonight's one is finding focus or not, lessons from Goofy and Gallup. So now you have the connection between Goofy and Gallup. Sometimes the things that make us laugh the most also reveal the most about us, like this green Goofy football jersey I have had for years. Every time I wear it, I smile because it reminds me of my number 32 strength on the Gallup Strengthsfinders list of focus. Let's just say Goofy and I have a lot in common on that front. This episode is a celebration of owning who you are, your top strengths, your bottom strengths, and everywhere in between. Not with judgment, but with joy. So I was on a call earlier today with a collaboration partner, and we got talking about some of the personality tests and things that are out there, like, MBIT and the Myers-Briggs type indicator. The DISC was another one. The bank code. Strengthsfinders was one as well. What else did we talk about? I think those were love languages was the other one we talked about. And then I had a couple of others that I had randomly taken over the years. I actually hate taking personality tests because, like I said, you got to pick answer 1 or answer 2. And a lot of times I'll read the question and go, well, it depends. If this is the situation, I would choose option 1. If this is the situation, I would choose option 2. How many of you can relate? I know there are people out there that can relate. I have also actually done personality tests over the years where I have come out like smack bang in the middle. They had one. There was one year when I was working with Data General, and this is back in the early 90s. And you could be a dove, an eagle, a peacock, or an owl. 4 birds. They only had 16 questions, which I thought, as soon as I thought, oh, that's stupid. So I went through and did the assessment along with everybody else that was in the room with us as well. And when I added up my scores, I was dead center. I had four answers for each one. And most people were very definitely a peacock, very definitely an owl, very definitely an eagle, very definitely a dove. I was 4 across the board. And I said, and the guy says, okay, so what I want you to do is to take which bird you are and put it here. Excuse me, what do I do if all four came out equal? He says, that doesn't happen. I said, so I passed him my assessment that I had done, and he goes, this is not possible. You can't come out with all four equal. You give me 16 questions. There's 4 different types. I came out all 4 equal. And so he actually started asking people in the room the questions to see if I had answered them correctly. If I had answered them correctly for me, if that sounded like me, that, she put this answer, does that sound like it? And they were all like, yes. And it came out, I was equal across. I says, if you're going to do these types of assessments, you need to make them odd numbers. You got to make that. If you're going to do assessments, you have to make them odd numbers. You cannot make them even numbers, because people like me will come along and be equal across the board. But he thought I rigged it somehow. I'm like, it's the first time I've seen this test. So then they counted up how many eagles, owls, doves, and peacocks they had in the room, and then I ended up having to be a dove for the day. And I said, well, it really depends on the situation as to which bird is going to come out. And they're like, okay. And so I always wonder about some of the thinking behind these tests and how they're supposed to prove what. Yeah. And so they decided I was going to be a dove for the day, which is very non-confrontational, wants to please everybody, wants to make sure everybody's taken care of, which is the nurturing side of me that comes out. So I thought, okay, so I have to play to my nurturing side. I can do that. But other birds are going to come out. And so later on in the day, he turns around and goes, what's the brain? What is the brain? And I just without hesitation go, grey mushy stuff. And the woman sitting next to me, she was very definitely a very flamboyant peacock. And she turns around and goes, well, that's a very peacocky answer for a dove. You can have so much fun with these things. And so when I first went to work in the training department at Marriott, I got sat down at the computer and got told I had to do the Myers-Briggs test. And I was sort of like, okay. I said, I really hate these. And she says, what do you mean? I says, well, this very first question that's just come, because she got me all logged in and everything. I said, this first question that's come up, it depends. She goes, what do you mean it depends? I said, well, if I'm in this situation, I'll choose that. If I was in that situation, I'll choose that. She says, just pick the word that resonates, that pops into your head first. And I go, it depends. And she goes, what do you mean it depends? I said, that's what I says. I read the question and I go, well, it depends on the situation and which response I would have. And so she was sort of like, you're going to be problematic. And I went, yep. I will tell you this. I am an INFP, and my I was at an 11. My NP were 4. No, sorry, my NF were 4. So the top one, the I was an 11. The N and the F were 4 each. And the P, which is the last letter, was a 6. That was my scoring on the thing. So yes, I am very, very, very definitely an I. Then at one point they had me do a DISC assessment too, and if I remember correctly, I'm like a 90 something on the I. I think it was like 96 or 98 on the I. On the S, I got a 4, and on the C and the D, they were negatives. So if you know the DISC ones, my C and D were negative numbers. Yeah, it was kind of interesting how that came out. What other ones did I take? Oh, the bank one. The way I remember it is the word naked, because I'm NAKB. You go, how do you get naked out of that? I said, well, if you kind of look at the B, it could be an E, so nake. And you don't have nake, you have naked. So that's how I remember my bank score is NAKB. Somebody told me the other day that was not my score. I said, yes, it is. Well, put it this way, they did not believe that was my thing. So then after our interesting conversation this morning with my collaboration partner, I then went and had a nap, needed a nap by that point. And then I got working on the journals again on these journals. We've got 14 volumes we're currently working on. We're also going to be working on volume 15 throughout the week, so we can release it next week. I hope that is the plan. And so my collaboration partner said that she had gone to ChatGPT with her Strengthsfinders and had started figuring out, working about the bottom 5. And I thought, that's a really cool idea. So I thought, I'm going to try something like that. So I uploaded my Strengthsfinder results, my Myers-Briggs results, my bank results, my DISC results, my love languages, and then there was 2 others, human design and Enneagram or something it's called, Immigrant or something like that. So I uploaded all of those into ChatGPT, into a fresh chat, and go, this is who I am, and uploaded all of these. And yeah, ChatGPT has been having fun with that. They've written this whole slew of stuff, which I have like very quickly skimmed over and thought, I'm going to have to print this off and go. I can't read lots of stuff on a screen. I have to have physical paper. I know it annoys people who love the trees and are trying to save paper and all of that, but I am kinesthetic. I have to have the physical touch. When it comes to reading, I have to have the physical touch with pens and highlighters in my hands, Post-it notes at the ready. Yeah, when it comes to annotation, all that, that's me. I'm fine with reading fictional books on my Kindle. Not a problem there at all. But when it comes to nonfiction books, I have to have a physical copy. And for some reason, when I am flying, this is my routine when I get to the airport. After I get through security, I then go and find my gate. While I'm walking to wherever my gate is, it could be 3 hours before my flight if it's an international one. I don't care. I need to know where the gate is. Once I know where the gate is, then I can go back and go do what I normally do, which is go to the bookstore that's in there, or the newsstand, whatever they want to call it, where they have all the books. Typically hardback is what I get, because for some reason when I'm on a plane, I cannot read my Kindle. And I can only read a physical book when I'm on the plane. And I either get James Patterson, Brad Thor, David Baldacci. You're one of those 3 authors. I'll go up and I'll see what's the books that they've got of those ones. Yes, I've read that one. I've read that one. I've read that one. Oh, I haven't read this one. And I prefer the hardback when I am flying. I have read the occasional paperback, but I prefer hardback. And that's how I read on a plane. And I will quite often, and depending on the length of the flight, I might have to get 2 books. Because I will tell you this, flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, or the West Coast to the East Coast, I will very more than often than not finish a whole book on that trip. Yeah, I kind of devour books a little bit. But I prefer hardbacks. The tactile thing when I'm flying, I can't read, for whatever reason, I can't read my Kindle. I put my music on I put my iTunes on with my noise canceling headphones. For whatever reason, I have to listen to El Divo when I'm reading on a flight. And if I doze off, that's okay. I have my routine when I am on a flight, which does me very, very well. When it comes to the long distance flights, for whatever reason, when I fly from the US down to New Zealand to go home visit my folks, I sleep very well on the plane on the way down. On the way back, leaving New Zealand and going back to the States, I don't sleep at all. I might get a nap in there, but I'm typically up all night and I can read a couple of books during that time. Or I might watch a movie. I may watch a movie and read a couple of books at the same time. So, and yes, I have been known to sit in my seat with the TV going, the headphones on, and I'm listening to the movie while I'm reading a book. That is, yes, that's just how I am. Focus, 32, focus. But anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, I have notes. So going back to Goofy and, focus. Obviously, we are not focusing at all today. I will tell you, my head's has been all over the place because this time last week, Zephy had already had 2 seizures. And we did a very quick balloons for Zephy. We had a very quick podcast that evening because I was sitting on the floor in the family room. I had my laptop. I turned it around, and it was sitting on my little footstool there, so I could do the podcast while keeping an eye on Zephy and keeping my hand on her. And after I got off that podcast, about 10 minutes later, she had another seizure. And then we were sitting there with seizures after seizures for the next 9+ hours. It was like 9.5 hours. Because I think we sat down, I got her to lay down before 5 o'clock, and she passed at 2:28. So you can do the math. 5 to then, that's 7 hours to midnight, and then 2.5 hours to when she passed away. So yeah, we were there for 9.5 hours with just seizures after seizure. Some of them, there was 5-minute gaps. Others, there was 30-minute gaps. The last one was an hour before she had her last seizure. And I thought, yes, we're finally getting past this bit. Keep dropping in the sugar water, putting it on her tongue because her mouth was hanging open, her tongue was out, so I had to keep the tongue moist. So I think I'll just put sugar water on it. It actually caused her to lick her nose and all of that sort of stuff as well, and pull her tongue in and swallow a little bit too. So that was good. Yeah, and then we had this one period, it was like 30 to 40 minutes where she would have a seizure that would last like 15 to 20 seconds. She would have anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes of a break, and then she'd be straight into another very short these little mini, she just had this row of mini seizures after mini seizures with maybe a minute in between, but it was usually more seconds in between. And that was around midnight. But that's what I was doing this time last week. And it's been a tough week walking around the house and seeing places like, I still have her bed is made up on her side of my bed. Her bed is still there, and I still, when I walk into the bedroom, I walk over there, I touch there where her head would often lay, and just talk to her at that point. I have heard her in the house Tuesday last week. She came through the curtains squeaked, and they only squeaked when she would walk underneath them. And I heard last night, I was getting into bed and I could hear her snoring. It was the weirdest thing. I'm like getting into bed going, hang on, what's that? And I just stopped and listened, and it was her little snores that she does. So she visited me last night too. She was in the bedroom with me as I was getting into bed, and I could hear her little snores going on. So that was kind of cool. So I love it when my pets come to visit me. But anyway, back to focus. 32 hell. In fact, one of my bosses that I had, in the end, if I started wandering off, scrolling and all that sort of stuff, she'd whack the table and she'd go, 32, Helen, 32. Yeah, I had to focus. So Strengthsfinders isn't about what you're bad at. It's a tool to understand where you naturally shine and where you don't, which is just as important. Knowing focus sits at the bottom of my list doesn't mean I can't concentrate. It means I don't naturally organize my day around long, deep focus blocks, and that's okay. Me trying to meditate, I can't do it for more than 5 minutes. My focus is gone. Instead, I have learned in my spontaneity, relationships, ideas, energy, and ability, is what I think. Goofy strengths, maybe, but they've taken me a lot of places. What happens when we laugh at ourselves when we laugh with ourselves instead of at ourselves? We have freedom. We name what doesn't come naturally. That's clarity. We celebrate even our lowest ranked traits, which is wholeness. When we embrace all 34 strengths, it is a unique mix of not a hierarchy. We gain permission to be human. We gain permission to be exactly who we are. I gain permission to be as sparkly exactly as I am. And how we carry forward is to let this be a reminder. Your value isn't tied to whether you're disciplined, focused, or strategic, unless those are your gifts. Maybe you're empathetic, positive, curious, or relational. That matters too. And if you've got a goofy juicy of your own, something that cracks you up and calls you home to yourself, wear it proudly. I do. I wear it proudly. Actually, I don't even know what number. I have to go and see what number Donald Duck is. Maybe I'll wear him tomorrow. Yeah, I might wear him tomorrow. And your legacy connection. Your legacy isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, sharing the whole story, the quirks, the offbeat numbers on your strength list, the part where Goofy shows up and says, you're doing just fine, kid. That's right there. It's in your legacy. Our reflection questions for you tonight. We only have 3 to go in your reflection light journal. on one of the, let's see, on a Porch Lights notes page, because it's not titled, the thought to reflect on the opposite page says, what has softened in you lately? And the cool part about these journals, there's no numbered pages. You can just open it up and go, what lights are you leaving on for someone else? I don't want to answer that one. So just flip through and go, if you could write a letter to your future self 1 year from now, what would it say? Ooh, I have lots to say to that person. So you might sit down and write that, and you just put the date up here. We've got the dates blank, so you can write the dates in. They don't have to, these pages do not have to be done in order, unless you are a person who starts at page 1 and works their way through. That is fine. This is designed for someone like me who, actually, it's designed with multiple purposes. If you want to start at page 1 and work your way through the book, that is fine. That is perfectly fine. If, on the other hand, you are like me and you just go, what do you want to carry forward from this week and what can you let go of? What's a small joy you almost overlooked? Ooh, yes, I've got a spark on that one. So I'll start writing there. You don't have to start at page 1. You can if you want to. If you're the organized, focused person that starts at page, that's very organized, and you start at page 1, you work your way through. If you're all over the place like I am, start wherever you want. Anyway, your reflection questions for today. There's only 3. What's something about yourself you used to apologize for, but now celebrate? Celebrate every single one. If you've done your Strengthsfinder, then you know what your 34 strengths are. You know the order of them. So why not celebrate them all? 32, babe. Which of your lowest Strengthsfinder talent brings unexpected gifts to your life? So I just got to, they're not coming up the drive. I thought somebody was walking on my path. Which of your lowest strengths talents brings unexpected gifts to your life? And there are times that some of those ones that are down the bottom will bring into focus. Actually, what is my last one? Hang on. I have it here. Strengths. Oh, isn't that interesting? So my top 5: belief, positivity, woo, intellection, and arranger. Those are my top 5. My bottom 5 is number 30 is analytical. Number 31 is individualization. Number 32, focus. Number 33, self-assurance. And number 34, learner. Now, I find that interesting because learner is something that I love to do. I love learning things, but obviously not as a learner. I pull on my other strengths that I have that want me to learn. Like my top 10 after arranger is adaptability, connectedness, input, futuristic, and competition. I was actually surprised to see competition so high because I'm one of those people who are not very competitive in some things, in most things. But yeah, it was interesting to find number 34 was learner. That was a big one since I absolutely love to learn, but that's okay. I obviously pull on other strengths that I pull on other strengths. That means that I don't have to pull on the learner strength in order to learn. I use my other strengths to help compensate for that. It says people exceptionally talented in the learner theme have a great desire to learn and want to continuously improve. Process of learning rather than the outcome excites them. Yeah, I like the outcome when it comes to learning. So yeah, that's good that one's down there. Oh, and this is what it says about focus as an executing strength. People exceptionally talented in the focus theme can take a direction, follow through, and make the corrections necessary to stay on track. They prioritize then act. I act then prioritize. Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely don't prioritize then act. I tend to act then prioritize. So question number 3. So the first question, what's something about yourself you used to apologize for but now celebrate? Number 2, which of your lowest strengths, talents bring unexpected gifts in your life? And number 3, how would your legacy change if you embraced your goofy side more often? I love that question. I like that one. Okay, so and in closing, you don't need to be focused to be fulfilled. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to keep showing up as you are, even if it's in a green jersey with a number 32 and a grin that says, "Yep, I get it." That's real strength. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, konera.